For years, you were the easy one, the quiet one, the one who never caused problems. You disappeared into your room and no one checked on you. You achieved and no one celebrated. You hurt and no one asked why. They got comfortable with your silence. They mistook your survival for acceptance. They thought you were fine. But here's what they didn't know. The invisible child doesn't stay invisible forever. And when they finally snap, everything changes. This is what happens when the forgotten child stops forgetting themselves.
Stage 1. The silence gets louder. It doesn't start with an explosion. It starts with a shift. Suddenly, the invisible child who always answered the phone stops picking up. The one who always showed up to family events starts declining invitations. No drama, no explanation, just absence. And for the first time, the family notices, not because they miss you, but because your silence makes them uncomfortable. They're used to your presence being optional, your absence being mandatory. That's new. They text, "Are you okay?" But they don't actually want to know. They want you to say yes so they can stop feeling guilty.
Stage 2. The performance ends. The invisible child spent their whole life performing okay, performing fine, performing like their needs didn't exist. They learned that authenticity was punished and compliance was rewarded with being left alone. But when they snap, the mask drops, and suddenly the family sees someone they don't recognize. Someone who says no without apologizing. Someone who doesn't laugh at jokes that hurt. Someone who doesn't smooth over awkward moments anymore. The family calls this attitude. The invisible child calls it honesty. For the first time in their life, they stop pretending the hurt doesn't exist, and the family can't handle it. Stage 3. The truth comes out. This is the stage the family fears most, because the invisible child who never complained, they remember everything. Every forgotten birthday, every achievement that was met with, "That's nice." Every time they were told they were being too much when they asked for the bare minimum. Every family event where they were present but unseen. Every crisis where they were the last priority. They don't yell, they don't scream, they just state facts calmly, clearly, with receipts. And the family scrambles. "You're too sensitive. That's not how it happened. We did our best." But for the first time, the invisible child doesn't accept those deflections. They don't argue. They just stop pretending the gaslighting works. Stage 4. The boundary wall goes up. This is when the invisible child does something the family never expected. They protect themselves. No more last-minute favors, no more emergency emotional labor, no more being the free therapist, the convenient babysitter, the one who always understands. The invisible child who was trained to have no needs suddenly has non-negotiable boundaries. And the family? They call it cruel. They call it selfish. They say, "You've changed." And the invisible child thinks, "Yes, that's the point. The guilt trips that once worked don't work anymore." Because the invisible child finally realized the people who taught them to feel guilty for having needs are the same people who benefited from those needs staying unmet. Stage 5. The family's reckoning. Here's what the family doesn't expect: consequences. They thought the invisible child would always come back, that they could ignore them for years and then call when convenient, that family is family was enough of an excuse for lifetime neglect. But the invisible child who finally snapped doesn't return to the old dynamic. Some go low contact, some go no contact. Some maintain surface-level relationships but never again go deep. And the family has to sit with what they lost, not the invisible child they took for granted. That child is gone. They lost the adult that child became, the one who would have been loyal, loving, present, if only they'd been seen. Some families wake up, most don't. Most just find a new scapegoat and tell themselves the invisible child was always difficult.
Stage 6. The invisible child becomes visible to themselves. Here's the truth they don't tell you about snapping. It's not really about the family. It's about the invisible child finally seeing themselves. Seeing that they deserved better. Seeing that their needs were never too much. Seeing that their invisibility was inflicted, not inherent. Seeing that they were never the problem. The snap isn't revenge, it's recognition. It's the moment when the child who spent their whole life trying to be seen by others finally turns around and sees themselves and realizes, I was always worth seeing. They were just looking the wrong direction. The invisible child doesn't snap to hurt their family, they snap to save themselves. And sometimes saving yourself means letting go of people who only loved the version of you that asked for nothing.
If you were the invisible child who finally snapped, or you're on the edge of snapping, I need you to hear this. You're not cruel. You're not selfish. You're not ungrateful. You're not breaking the family. The family was already broken. You're just refusing to hold the broken pieces together anymore. Snapping doesn't make you the villain. It makes you the one who finally chose themselves. And that's not something to apologize for. The people who are angry at your boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. The people who call you changed are the ones who preferred you silent. The people who say family is family are the ones who never treated you like family. You don't owe your presence to people who made you feel like your presence didn't matter. You don't owe your energy to people who never saw your exhaustion. You don't owe your forgiveness to people who never apologized. What you owe yourself is this: the life you would have had if they'd seen you from the beginning. The peace you would have felt if your needs hadn't been treated as burdens. The wholeness you would have known if you hadn't spent your childhood disappearing. The invisible child who snaps isn't broken. They're breaking free. And that's the most powerful thing they'll ever do. You were always visible. You were always worthy. You were always enough. The only thing that changed is now you know it too.